Welcome back. The Fernhouse Trailside Deck Project is ready for part 2. We have 1 day in so far, and now it's time to get this project done.
It's the second full day on this project. It rained out yesterday, and I've had 100 things to do so far today. And I got guests coming and going, so Carter's down here.
The goal today is to get the deck boards in place, and this can be a solo project, so Carter's working on this while I attend to the 100 other things happening in life.
Well, that's that end piece.
Yeah, well you see, look, I'm already finished on that side, but on this side I'm not. It's because from that one to this one is like,
Notice that we switched out those short stubby posts in the front for full length posts to include in the railing. We realized there was more of a drop off there than we thought, and it seemed appropriate as a safety measure. So now Carter's needing to cut notches into some of these deck boards in order to wrap them around those posts. So the boards that need notched are a little bit more time consuming, but the rest are pretty straightforward. Lay them in place, make them flush along the one end, screw them down, and then that jaggedy end that you saw earlier, we can always strike a line across that and trim it off later to make it look pretty.
Looks good.
it's good.
Looks good.
Like, yeah.
Awesome.
I'm sure. When you get that other order of lumber from the sawmill there, not going to be, mill cut. That's going to be sawmill rough stuff. So the dimensions on that's going to be 2 inches. So then if you're using a 2-inch and then you're using a 3-inch screw, you're only going to have an inch of penetration for that. I think we need to get some longer screws.
Longer screws for that. Okay.
Yes, I do.
I follow what you're saying.
And longer, and they make longer and a little heavier, and then you can pin them in there and they'll hold it. Okay.
Something to pry against.
Which way you want
You
it?
can tell it's my dad that has the know-how to get these projects accomplished, and I am thankful for that. But here he is, back to making simple machines out of whatever's laying around. This man knows how to work some leverage.
Got it.
Some of these boards are slightly bowed or not perfectly straight, so he's just bringing some back pressure against that board so it lines up nice and tightly with the board in front of it and keeps our deck boards as square as the deck we built. So the last 2 boards are getting ready to go into place. Carter has some cutting to do on this, and
I didn't measure that for depth.
and then it's really going to start looking like a finished project.
I didn't measure that back. I just scribed those lines on there and randomly. So measure, see what they are.
That's perfect.
It is.
Yep.
All right, by golly,
Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So Carter and my dad have everything well underway here, and I have enough other things to do today, so I don't think my help's really needed. But before I went, I did grab up a piece of grapevine that I saw laying there. It's still wet, still green, hasn't dried yet, and I thought, I bet I can make this into a wreath. So you never know, I might need it.
If this is essentially our angle, right? Here, so let's just move it right up here. And then, here, I'm going to give you the pen.
Wasn't it?
Yep, and then go ahead and make a mark down that board.
Right here.
That side. So we just have to figure that, set the saw to that angle, and then take the piece you actually want to use, cut it, and then
We can use this piece. It's 4 foot. It needs to come this way more.
that's fine.
If
You
we
can
move
just,
it higher up.
you know what? Just take that angle and move it out to the very to the end. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so let's recap. Day 1 was framing the deck up. We cleared the site, we put down our footer blocks, and we built the frame. Day 2 was putting the deck boards in place and making some minor adjustments, like changing out those front 2 posts so that we could use them as part of the railing. Here we are on day 3. I didn't think there would be a day 3, but I also did not think about the fact that this deck was going to need bracing so that it didn't feel like a trampoline when you were walking on it. So my husband has given me some pointers in that, and I also need to put this center post in. We kind of overlooked it in our haste. So there's going to be one more footer block placed right here where I'm digging. And I'm going to set a post in there and attach it to the floor joists for some extra stability. Now, I was pretty heartbroken when I realized that I needed to put bracing on here, and I had not figured that into the cost of my project. And I really did not want to buy more lumber at this point. So I spent the weekend lamenting about it, and then I started digging around and looking here and there, and I found some 2x4s in the garage, and I found a 2x8 in the shed, and then out by the wood stove I found some more pieces of scrap lumber, and until I was done I managed to round up enough spare lumber to make the bracing for this deck. I am so thankful for that. So you'll see that's what we're doing to finish up.
We're not gonna be able to get on from the other side because we're so thin.
That's
So you can do it like down through. Like, oh wait, no, it's the same thing.
So the lamenting here that's happening is because this piece of lumber is actually scrap from our deck boards. We had a deck board that we had cut in half lengthwise. So this scrap piece, there's 2 of them you'll see, it's about 3 inches wide, but it is only about 1.25 inches thick. So if we drill into the end of it, there could be a chance that we could split that board, and we don't want to do that. I think that these boards will be strong enough once they're put in place to be sturdy supports, but we just gotta think through how we're going to do that so we don't ruin the board in the process.
I did it like...
I'm not worried about splitting this end of the board. I'm worried about splitting the end that connects over to the joist.
So what if we got, oh my gosh. All right, so here's a moment of genius. What if we take a chunk of 2x4
And put it up.
and screw it on, and then screw these into the 2x4?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Or what if we do it with one of those big 4x4s?
Right, because we could screw in from that direction.
Yeah.
Because there's some small chunks of 4x4, right? Thought, why don't we flip it so that we're not drilling into the end? If we do it this way, we're drilling cross grain on everything. That way we, right?
So what we've done here is we've taken one of the 4x4 post scraps, we've cut it about 4 inches long so that we essentially have a cube to work with. That cube is being placed between these 2 braces and being screwed fast to the joist. Once it's attached to the joist, then those braces can be screwed into the cube from the side. Therefore, we're not putting a nail or a screw into the length of that board and possibly splitting it.
Actually, I can see it.
Can you line it up from there? Man, this is sappy. For a piece of pine.
So now we got our creative carpentry behind us. This is a lot more straightforward. We're just screwing straight through the joist and into the support bracing piece. In this case, the front left corner is getting a piece of 2x4. It's plenty thick, and we don't have to worry about splitting it if we screw a screw into the end of it. So it's worth mentioning here because I haven't mentioned it before and I didn't actually get any footage of it, but before we started putting any of these braces in place, we actually went around and made sure all of these posts were at a true 90-degree angle from the deck. In other words, we checked the level on these with the level being vertical against those posts. And there was a lot of variance. We actually were kicking posts back and forth. They were at all kinds of wonky angles at this point. So once we were sure that they were all truly vertically 90 degrees from the deck and nice and straight, then we began putting our braces in place. Now, on the back side of this deck, I'm going to be using my wide pieces of lumber that I found, and I'm going to be making a brace that goes from the frame, pretty much the center point of the frame, out to those corner leg posts. You may notice that the one end down by Carter has been trimmed off, and we were flipping the board around to get that straight. Now, we simply held the board in place where we wanted it, marked the small little bit that would be sticking out past the end, and trimmed that. We could have just adjusted the angle and avoided that, but I thought it would just look a little bit nicer and more finished. When I grew up, my mom was quite the seamstress, and she made a lot of our clothes, and she used to really take a lot of time to make sure her seams on the inside of our dresses and the hems were perfect, just in case somebody looked. I used to think, who's gonna look? But here I am, essentially making sure that the hem on the inside of my deck looks pretty, just in case somebody looks. So it's the same thing, and it kind of makes me chuckle. So we didn't get super technical here. We just kind of eyeballed these into place and did what we thought looked symmetrical from a distance. But Carter's just striking that line on this board. We'll trim it off and get it put in place, and that will be part of the bracing that goes to these corner posts.
Think it'll fit in between them?
The last two braces that we're putting on this deck are going to run from the side of the frame down to that corner post. So those corner posts, which are our longest posts, and we really want to make sure that we keep those nice and square to our project, are going to be being held in place from two different directions, so they will not be able to move side to side or front to back when we are finished here. And that is what's going to make this deck nice and sturdy.
Oh, do that on the other side. Because if we were to cut it on that side.
Thank God. Thank you.
I am suffering from the late afternoon brain drain of motherhood, I suppose. And thank goodness Carter's brain is engaged better than mine. If I would have cut that board too short and we would have been able to attach it, I think I would have just been heartbroken at this point. I was not planning on having a day 3 on this project to begin with, let alone running out of the lumber that I'd managed to scrape together. Now we are finally to the part of the project that I have been so excited to get to, and that is putting the railing up. And I'm excited about the railing because I'm actually using my leftover laundry line to make it. And this is my leftover materials from the pulley style laundry line that's in my backyard. You can see it on my video, How I Co-Host Our Airbnb. And it is 1/4 inch, I believe, metal cable that is wrapped in a plastic coating. It's going to make a really nice, strong, sturdy railing. that is very transparent. It's not going to distract and disturb from the view at all. It's going to look modern. It's just going to be awesome. So we've gone around and drilled holes into these posts in order to thread this cable through. And the posts have also been trimmed to be all the same height, except for this front post for a reason. Now I have these brackets here. These brackets will help us fasten off the cable. The cable goes through the bracket, then we run the cable through this eye bolt, which has been sunk through the floorboard or the deck board and into one of the joists underneath, so it's nice and sturdy and strong. And then the wire goes back through the bracket, and you tighten up the bracket with a pair of pliers, and that's it. So pretty simple installation, and the hardware was very inexpensive. Now the cable itself, we tried cutting with wire cutters. That was funny. So here we are with a grinder, and that is good enough. Now that we're fastening the other end of this cable, we're going to have to pull pretty hard to keep it taut. And that's what Carter's going to do here with a pair of vice grips. He's going to pull on that cable backwards so that as I'm tightening up the bracket, our actual railing, cable railing, whatever you want to call it, stays nice and taut.
Are we gonna make it?
I don't know. I don't think we will. Nope.
So stinking close.
If we would have took these and put them like right here, then we would have made it.
So here's the next thing we could do. I have more of those. We could sink this one to here, and we sink that one part way across over there.
So our situation here is that we ran out of cable. This is what happens when you use leftover building supplies. You know you're going to have to improvise, right? So we're actually just going to run this last strand of cable from the end post around to the left corner post. It won't actually come the whole way down into the eye bolt, but I think it's going to look okay when it's all said and done, and I don't think it's going to look like a blooper. I don't think I've ever noticed this before, but look at this grapevine. It has little roots, like little shoots coming down off of it. It's attempting to anchor itself and gather more nutrients. It's pretty cool. I cannot believe that this deck has turned into a reality. It's just amazing to look at. Maybe I'm just a little partial. But really, this is something that I thought would come long after I built the fern house. I didn't expect to build it now. But it's going to be such a great spot for people to spread out on. They could just soak in nature here, soak in the sun, the sounds, all that goodness, and get connected. It's a great place for creative projects to be spread out or to enjoy a meal. You can exercise here, stretch, do yoga, meditate, pray, whatever it is that just makes you feel connected to the things that really matter in life. That is what this space is for. So I am hoping that I get to enjoy it, and I'm hoping that many others get to enjoy it as well. I love that this little deer trail meanders its way around the deck. We tucked the deck in next to it, but made sure not to cross onto it. Takes you down to their bedding area in the pines, and I don't think the deck will throw them off. I think they'll continue to use this trail and that bedding area. Again, thank you for watching. I just hope you've been inspired to get creative and get connected and get outside into nature. Be sure to like and subscribe, and please feel free to comment below.